Hi, my name is Alina. Welcome to Continue Talk, which is a new segment where we're going to just talk about stuff from Y2K. So, for this episode, we are going to be talking about Y2K movies. Yes, those time capsules of what seems like the early 2000s. And, and it's going to be great. So, before we get started, do not forget that the Continuist Y2K themed fall 2021 zine is going to be coming out soon. So keep your eye out for that. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first movie that we are going to be talking about is Aquamarine. Does anybody remember that movie? That I feel like it was a forgotten gem from 2006, but for some reason it had really like notable stars. Like it was kind of star-studded. First of all, you had Sarah Paxton from Darcy's Wild Life, if anybody remembers that. She was also in the fourth Halloween Town, but I don't think people really talk about the fourth Halloween Town because it was her and not the original Marnie. We have JoJo, R&B star. I'm pretty sure she was R&B. JoJo, and we have Emma Roberts. Like the pedigree of Emma Roberts in this teen movie, and it was about mermaids. Like in the age where everything was being like vampire, werewolf, kind of that's because that's when when the first Twilight book came out. Like coming out with a teen movie about mermaids was truly revolutionary, and I have to tip my hat off to that. Yeah. So let's talk about the way that this movie is, just like I said, a time capsule of the 2000s. So you got your perfect formula for a 2000s movie. You got your besties. You have JoJo and Emma Roberts, who are going through this like big change in their friendship. And then you have Sarah Paxton, who's the mermaid, coming into the mix to kind of just freshen up or spice things up in their friendship. You got boy drama where Sarah Paxton needs to find somebody to fall in love with her before 3 days are up so she doesn't have to get married. And we cannot forget the iconic fashion montage, the movie moment that is in like every early 2000s movie where the girls go to the mall or they sit in their room and they just do fashion montage. They try on different clothes. There's usually some upbeat teeny bop song playing in the background. And it's just such a good time. You and your friends would also go to the mall to have your own fashion montage so you could have that kind of bestie moment. Can we play the clip? Like I said, it's just those transitions, the choppy editing, the music, the bopping your head, the three-way mirror. Like it was just all so iconic. It was like if your teen movie did not have a fashion montage, yours was not a teen movie. Like I'm trying to think, like Princess Diaries had the iconic um scene where she was getting her Paolo, only majesty can, or majesty, only Paolo can take this and this and give you a princess. Like that kind of montage. It was absolutely hilarious, absolutely perfect. And if you didn't have that, then what was your movie about? Like, let's also not forget, let's go back to the like Aquamarine in a sea of movies where everything was kind of just about getting the guy or like just like figuring out your identity. It was really a movie about friendship. Like the at the end of the movie, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but at the end of the movie, the love that saved Aquamarine wasn't the love that she got from this guy, but it was the love from her friends. And if that isn't like the most pure like message or pure theme you could ever see, like movies that show you like, yes, romantic love is great, but the love of your friends, that is what will really, yeah. Now we're just gonna take a little break, and when we come back, I will have a very special guest, and we're going to kind of go back in time a little bit to talk about a different movie. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. As you can see, I'm here with a very special guest. We're with Muskan, who is also a social media assistant over at the Continuist. And we're about to go back in time a little bit, like I said before, to an era that everybody knows as the 90s. It's wild to think that we think of the 90s as like 10 years ago, but it was really like 30 years ago.
I know.
But yes, so the movie we're talking about in this segment is Scream from 1996 because it is October, so every day is basically Halloween, so we can't not talk about scary movies. So, Muskan, I just have to start by asking, what is your favorite scary movie?
I love that. That like completely caught me off guard. I'm like, wait, I recognize that. Okay, if we're really gonna talk favorite scary movie, 1000% it's Scream. My favorite horror movie. It's a perfect mix of like
Good answer.
comedy, horror, kind of like a teeny bopper gone wrong. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I would exactly. It's kind of like, I've seen I'm such a huge Scream nerd. Like I've seen documentaries about the filming of the movie, but like a lot of the producers would describe it as like a John Hughes movie gone wrong. And I'm like, you know what? That's the perfect way to describe it. Like it was funny, it was dramatic, but at the same time, like it was scary. Like the blood
Yeah.
was and the gore, everything was just so like realistic, but at the same time, like it took the laughs and it took the drama very seriously. Like everything that really happened in the movie, like, wait, should we keep this spoiler free or what do you think, Muskan?
Should we keep this spoiler free? I don't know. I feel like everyone should watch it. So maybe baby spoilers, not like
Yeah.
huge spoilers, but everyone should
Yeah.
watch it. If you haven't watched Scream, I feel like you can't call
What are
yourself
you
like a horror
doing?
movie fan. Like that's where you gotta start.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So why was this movie so iconic? Like from it was like in an era where the slasher movie was kind of dying. Like the only movies that were really coming out of the slasher genre were sequels to already established franchises. So like what made Scream so different?
I think what made Scream so different is like again how you said it's a John Hughes movie gone wrong. It starts off as very like classic, like a teeny bopper. She's like making popcorn, and then she gets this one phone call that starts the whole movie off, and that's how you know like it's about to go down. And I think we'll get into the cast later, but the cast was also like phenomenal. And so that makes it even better. I think it just really started it off where this person, like this character, he isn't too gory, but he's also not too scary. Like, I don't know why. Scream is hilarious to me. I think it's like a horror comedy where it's like you just see him like flying around the entire movie in like a giant black coat. It's hilarious to me. And I think they kind of made him a perfect mix of like he's scary because he's gonna kill you, but he's also funny because he looks hilarious as he's trying to kill you. And so I think it really changed the whole like
Yeah.
serial killer dynamic to funny, but also not like completely terrifying.
I totally agree because like if you think about it, it's a who done it, right? So like it's not some kind of supernatural creature like Jason Voorhees or even Freddy Krueger where it
Mhm.
he's not that tangible, but it's a human in screen. It's somebody that you're supposed to know. So the fact that the minute that these killers put on the robe and the mask, they're suddenly invincible. Like he's Ghostface is like falling from buildings. He's like running around getting hit, taking hits to the face and like hits to the chest, but he's still fine. Like he acted like nothing really hurt him. I think that's also what makes it so wild that like a human being is capable of not only doing such terrible acts, but like knows how to take a hit.
He takes multiple hits. The funniest part about Scream is like his victims, like he just stabs them and they don't die instantly. They die like fighting. Like he gets beer bottles thrown at him. He gets like all different
Yeah.
things thrown at him. He gets flipped over couches, tables, like you know it. He's taking multiple beatings. And it's hilarious to see like his victims like clearly fight back and he's like, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna go out with the fight. it's hilarious. Like I love, there was a scene where he, like, a beer bottle was thrown at him and you just see him like being taken aback, like, is this person really hitting me as I'm trying to
Yeah.
kill them? And it's
Yeah.
hilarious because like in older like slasher movies like Freddy Krueger, you see the victims like clearly terrified. Here it's like you have this whole like dynamic where they're fighting each other. It's absolutely hilarious, and it's so different
I think,
from like the previous standard,
yeah.
which is really, really interesting to me.
It kind of goes against, like, that's the whole point. Scream's supposed to be like a satire on these slasher movies. It goes against the typical, young virginal girl who just, or not even virginal, because they have a lot of like stuff going on in these slasher movies, but like the fact that they just don't stand there, the fact that they fight back is really what makes it different and what makes it stand out. And I want to kind of like segue into what you're talking about with the cast. Like, slasher movies, especially back in the day, kind of had a like a reputation for casting no-name actors. But what Scream did was they casted well-established actors. Like, Nev Campbell was starring in Party of Five at the time. Courtney Cox was starring in Friends at the time. So it's just like the biggest things.
The biggest.
The slash movie was wild. Drew Barrymore. Okay, let's talk about Drew Barrymore's iconic role in this movie.
She literally
Also,
started off like, I love the way she opened it. It was so, again, like classic John Hughes, so much like, I'm making popcorn, like I'm doing nothing. And the way, I
so
love the way
innocent. She
she
has that
started off. She didn't
Drew
start
Barrymore
scared.
face.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, like she really handled that scene so beautifully. Like, it's very innocent and soft, and then like this, she was terrified and she was crying. Okay,
Exactly the way she just started it
now
off. She's like, I'm just chilling, like I'm not doing anything. But then
just
the way
chilling.
she
Yeah.
changes her expression when she knows that that phone call isn't like her boyfriend, like she immediately knows, and you can tell like the whole air changes, and suddenly like she's not about to only eat popcorn tonight, like it's about to go down.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's talk about the new Scream coming out next year. They dropped the trailer recently. Did you watch it?
Of course, I watched it. I watched it twice. I'm
Oh my,
so
I watched it like
excited.
3 times because I'm like, I want to see every little thing. I want to get whatever I can out of this trailer. I'm excited.
I'm so
What do you
excited.
think?
I'm
Like, are you
so
excited? Like,
glad they brought people back. I'm so glad. I'm so glad they
oh,
didn't
I
replace
know. It would
people.
not have been.
I know exactly.
It would not have been the same.
It would
Like
not.
if Sydney and Dewey and Gail weren't in it, like it wouldn't, like, because this franchise isn't, it's also different from the other murder like iconic slashers where it follows different characters in every movie. Like, the Scream franchise is Sydney Prescott's story. Like, even in
Exactly.
the third and the fourth, when she wasn't like as in it as much, it was still very much about her. So like, to have her not be in any of the other sequels and that kind of like center the story around her would have been, it wouldn't have felt right.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad that they brought back like her. And I'm so glad they brought back Courtney Cox. Like Gail Weathers was so iconic. Like seeing all the movies, seeing the abominable haircut they gave her in Scream 3,
Oh
that
my
scared me more than
god,
every
yes,
single
that
movie.
dis
I don't know
so
why they did her like that.
disrespectful. Dang. Yeah,
Why
you're
would they
right.
do
That's
her
the
like that? Like
disrespectful
that was an
thing.
abomination. And like now they brought her back, and like I love it. Like I'm so glad how the entire cast is back, and you can really bring yourself back to that era of like how each person has evolved through a movie. Like I'm so excited to see them. And it, honestly, like TBH, if I was Sydney, I don't understand why she's getting involved in this. Like she's almost died for what, 4 movies now? I would be like, peace out. Like it sounds like a
She
you problem.
can't
If you're getting
escape it.
murdered, like
Like,
goodbye. Like
she
I would not be
has
back for
she
this.
has tried. She tried running from it, but it didn't work. It followed her. So like, more like, kudos to her for being, strong enough to face the darkness in her life. And I think at the end of the day, like, that's one of the great messages about Scream, where even if terrible things happen to you, like, you can take the high road. You don't have to be a terrible person. Like, be the bad things happening to you doesn't mean that you'll end up bad like that. It's like strength. It's just awesome, and it's so great that it was a woman at the helm of that franchise.
The fact that she's willing to still help people after what she's been through, like that giving heart, I could never. I would dip. I'd be like,
I love her
4
for
movies
that.
later, goodbye.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Muskan. This was so much fun. We are going to take another quick little break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about the queen of 2000s, Hilary Duff. Welcome back. Now we're going to hop forward in time again, actually, to the same year as Aquamarine, and we are going to talk about the most iconic and best adaptation of Cinderella, a Cinderella story. You can quote me on that. You can fight me on that. I will go to my grave saying that this was the best adaptation of Cinderella, even like the Disney ones. It don't work. So we are going to talk about how the fact that it was the queen, it was the era of the queen, Hilary Duff. She was in like everything that you could see at the time. But I think, okay, well, first of all, let's talk about the Queen Duff, like the queen of kind of like the younger teams, like 13, 14, maybe even like 12 if you're going that far down. And then you had Chad Michael Murray, the heartthrob of the CW, or I guess they would have been the WB at the time, but the heartthrob of the WB, who was on One Tree Hill, the most dramatic show you could ever watch. So the fact that he was in this like teeny bopper movie with Hilary Duff, it was like two worlds colliding. Like One Tree Hill was definitely for like the older kids, like 16, 17. But if you were like that age demographic where you had just left the Disney era and had entered teen dramas and you watched this movie, it was just like the best of both worlds. You were living your best life. So let's talk about how everything in the movie once again is a time capsule of the 2000s, but I think even more so because there was a lot of focus on technology because of how Cinderella, or I think her name was Sam in the movie, Sam and oh my gosh, Austin, yeah, how they communicated because they didn't know who the other person was when they were first talking. So it was a lot of like texting on flip phones. It was a lot of IMing. They IM'd on computers and like they were using screen names, and it was wild. It's wild to think how different internet culture is now, because in the age of an era of like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, most of the time people use their real names because you're kind of there to find someone. But the fact that they were kind of just using pen names was really great. Let's talk about quickly how the locker room scene has become a meme 15 years later. Can we roll the clip?
I know that guy that sent those emails is somewhere down inside of you. But I can't wait for him. Because waiting for you is like waiting for rain in this drought. Useless and disappointing.
Useless and disappointing. Where was her Oscar for that moment? Where was her Oscar? She had such great emotion in that scene. That scene is basically become a meme now, like especially on TikTok. I've seen so many people just like reacting to that, recreating that. And I think it's because like it's so absurd, because she was kind of going like, obviously Austin deserved that, but she was going hard on him. Like, oh, but you know what? Like I said, he deserved it. He let her get humiliated in front of their whole school and didn't say anything to back her up. I know, it's just the worst. but I think it's so funny, and it's kind of great because it shows how like stuff from the 2000s is even still relevant in present day. Like 15 years later, we're still talking about those scenes. Like it's not just something that's kind of been left in the past. It's something we're very much experiencing and still feeling, and it's very much influencing our adulthood, our childhood, and like nostalgia, and kind of really going in deep on that, especially in tumultuous times like we're living in now, like the power of nostalgia is just so great to make us feel happy and safe, and it's just really awesome. Okay, I want to just quickly thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Muskan once again for being a wonderful guest. Thank you so much. We had such a great discussion. Do not forget to check out the fall 2021 zine of the Continuist, caught in 2K, and it's going to be great. I can't wait for everybody to see it. Stay tuned for the next episode of Continue Talks.